A forgotten prophecy warns that the year 2025 will be humanity's ultimate turning point. An American clairvoyant foretells China's victory in a global war. An individual claiming to come from the year 2062 issues a sinister warning: seek refuge in the mountains. An ancient chant speaks of plagues and a world converging at a central point precisely in the year of the snake, 2025, and the voices of Baba Vanga, Nostradamus, and Alois Erlmeyer still echo, each pointing to that same moment. This goes far beyond legend. These are real enigmas wrapped in mystery. Ready to uncover them? Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell, because what follows may change how you see tomorrow. Jeane Dixon, the forgotten American seer. In the mystical realm of the United States, few figures are as enigmatic as Jeane Dixon. Celebrated as the most important seer of the last century, she was revered, feared, and dismissed by skeptics. Beneath her most famous predictions, including the assassination of Kennedy, lies a nearly buried warning. In 2025, a war would erupt between two great powers, and according to Dixon, China would emerge victorious. Jeane rose to fame in the decades of the 1940s and 1950s, when belief in unseen forces still clashed with the rising age of reason. She correctly predicted events like Roosevelt's death before the end of his second term and Truman's unlikely ascent, as well as Churchill's fall. Yet her vision of that future conflict was overshadowed by the political noise of the day. In My Life in Prophecies, written in the later decades of her career, she turned her gaze to distant eras. There, she described a clash between a nation consumed by arrogance and another guided by patience and precision, without naming them. One will burn out in excess, the other will rise from the east and reign. Today, many believe she referred to Russia and China, an unexpected reversal of Cold War expectations. Jeane did not foresee nuclear blasts, but rather an intelligence war, economic friction, cyber battles, and cultural destabilization. I envision a dragon that does not breathe fire, but weaves silk over blades of steel, drawing the world into its silken embrace. Astonishing were it not for the fact that she never recorded those pages. They remained blacked out or marked only with "too dark for now." What did she see that was too terrifying to write? Officials, military leaders, and even heads of state sought out Dixon, not to refute her, but to probe what would come after the headlines. Despite her proven track record, that warning for 2025 stayed hidden, perhaps because the idea of a dominant China seemed unthinkable in the West at the time. In her final years, Jeane withdrew from the public eye. Her visions shifted from discrete events to sequences of collapse. She confided, "The beginning comes from the middle. The end comes from the mirror." In 2020, young researchers unearthed her marginal notes. "Watch the water currents in 2025. Nothing will begin on solid ground. And the West sleeps while the East waits." These were clues, not fantasies, and they all lead to the same question. What did Jeane Dixon truly foresee for 2025? Nostradamus and the European conflict. Traveling back to the 16th century, we find Michel de Nostradamu, Nostradamus, physician and astrologer turned poet of destiny. His quatrains, full of symbols and allegories, have challenged interpreters for centuries. Many dismiss them as coincidences, but one passage is seldom examined: a European war in 2025. In one quatrain he wrote, "From the west will come the first rupture. Blood will reign under vast skies. Hunger and plague will wander when the earth trembles by the Black Sea." Set against recent headlines, the invasion of Ukraine, Eastern European instability, soaring energy prices, these lines read almost literally, and the number 25 recurs in various interpretations, pointing to a critical turning point.
Unlike other wars he mentioned, this one never ends in his later verses. He speaks of eras of famine, mass migrations, and climate disasters arising from the ashes of conflict. From the ashes, the waters will rise, new lands swallowed, old nations erased. In 1555, in a letter to King Henry II, Nostradamus warned of a black night for Europe, cities plunged into darkness for generations. Perhaps only now, amid resurgent authoritarianism, refugee crisis, and war on the horizon, do we grasp the full weight of his words. Baba Vanga, the dawn of dusk. In a remote Balkan village lived Vanalya Pandeva Gustarova, Baba Vanga, the blind prophetess. Without formal education, she claimed a powerful wind lifted her from the ground, trading her physical sight for visions of the beyond. Among her spectacular hits, the cursed submarine disaster, the 2004 tsunami, one prophecy echoes in 4 syllables: 2025, the beginning of the end.
Followers say Vanga foresaw a European war sparked by water, oil, and ideological disputes, bringing skies heavy with ash, rivers turned black, and silent streets where mothers carried lifeless children. And she always whispered, "Why?" Skeptics dismiss her words as vague and secondhand, yet in every global crisis, her warnings gain resonance. Communication fails not from censorship, but because people will stop listening. Machines refuse to work. Food will poison. Environmental diseases will spread. Even amid despair, Vanga glimpsed a spark of hope. Humanity would survive, though scarred. She spoke of underground shelters and cities in the sky for the privileged. She warned of a silent age after 2025, born not of force, but of spiritual apathy, leaving humanity to choose between renewal or ruin. The Traveler from 2062. In a Japanese forum in November 2010, a brief post appeared. "I am from 1962. Mocked at first, it gained traction when in March 2011, the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami struck, validating the advice, "Seek refuge in the mountains." In April 2016, another quake in Kumamoto deepened the mystery. That man from 1962 said he sought not to change history, but to observe how events from the 2020s would lead to global collapse. He predicted a massive war between 2025 and 2030, non-nuclear but chemical. Invisible agents infecting the air, destroying DNA, causing silent death. He warned that Japan would almost vanish from maps, and that only mountain refuges offered safety. He then described a new Indian empire, militarily and technologically empowered, with nanotech implants, underground cities, and sky cities for elites. He spoke of an era of absolute control, the golden age without freedom. After May 2016, he vanished as mysteriously as he appeared, leaving only archives of a potential time traveler. Alois Erlmeyer, the Yellow Dust War. In post-war Bavaria, Alois Erlmeyer, a simple well-digger, drew followers not for water but for his chilling visions. Until his death in 1959, he foretold a Third World War beginning in the Balkans, with Russian tanks sweeping across the Rhine as panicked masses fled. He described a lethal yellow dust, a chemical or biological agent dropped from the sky, killing animals, plants, and people within minutes. It was not nuclear warfare, but a silent, invisible assault. He warned of 3 days of total darkness, windows and doors sealed, and poisoned cities. Erlmeyer insisted the conflict would be brief but leave scars for generations. He spoke of Paris, Rome, and London in ruins, and of a spiritual leader called the Golden One. Though mocked in his lifetime, his accurate visions, the Berlin Wall, the Euro crisis, refugee waves, lent weight to this prophecy. The lost verse of the Tang monk.
In Tang Dynasty China, an anonymous monk penned 12 verses that later mirrored real events: Mongol invasions, the fall of the Ming, the Opium Wars. Only the 13th verse, uncovered by Song-era scholars, remains unfulfilled. It reads, "In the year of the snake, the world will tilt toward the center. Smoke from the heavens, men who forget the stars." 12 verses fulfilled, this is the first tied to 2025. Center evokes China, the Middle Kingdom, but also moral imbalance. Smoke from the heavens suggests missiles, falling satellites, or toxic clouds. Forgetting the stars implies technological blindness or communication collapse. The manuscript ends abruptly, as if the monk wrote the final verse and then vanished. Some claim he was a time traveler, guardian of a warning for humanity. It may seem fantastical, but 12 prophecies came true. The 13th verse still awaits its revelation. 7 distinct narratives across millennia and continents all converge on the same year, 2025. Coincidence? Patterns of human projection? Or an invisible thread linking past and future? Whatever the answer, one fact stands. Tomorrow remains unwritten, yet it feels precarious. It's now your turn. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment which prediction you've seen come true. Sometimes understanding what's yet to occur depends on those brave enough to share what has already been confirmed.